different projects and operations from like Vietnam and special forces and all this other stuff. It's really interesting. And I encourage folks to look into this stuff. Because this is somebody's like personal story of this. I mean, it is insane. 30 pages of him talking about all these different projects and operations. It is wild. He also talks about DARPA, the CIA, and all this other stuff. It's pretty crazy. So there's a lot of interesting things you can glean from this that you might not find anywhere else. Here's an example. He's saying, we did a big study for DARPA, which I was the executive director for 2 years, regarding advanced battle space command and control tech opportunities. That's basically all the stuff that's still being implemented today into systems in the services, command, control, communications, computers, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance areas. It was a key component in the now terminated Army Future Combat Systems. The core of this work is to enable distributing information and command and control and pushing it down into lower echelons, making the pointed edge of the spear, as we say, empowered with the knowledge they need to carry out their mission. It's similar in some ways to commercial efforts that focus on computing at the edge. And Bill Dunn says, you became involved with FCS, I think, right from the outset, back in 2002 or so, or maybe even right before that. He says, right, I was on my 2nd or 8-year stint on the Army Science Board, and we did a study at General John Abrams' request. So I came for a full circle in a way, incidentally, because remember, at the beginning, I got out of the Army due to General Creighton Abrams' arrangement. General Creighton Abrams is General John Abrams' father. Years later, I'm working for General John Abrams, who is now a lieutenant at the time in Vietnam, and now he's a 4-star general. So he goes into all these different things. These different operations that I find very, very interesting. Anyways, we're at the top of the hour now, and we're passing it over to Breaking Spectre. How are you, sir?
Good evening. How are we doing, Radix?
I'm doing all right. I read this stuff, and it's like,
DARPA. We just found out about DARPA on Monday. They're working on an implantable microchip to detect viruses.
For real?
Implantable. Be very afraid.
Yeah, right? I mean, for crying out loud. Just so everybody knows, I put a video out on my personal YouTube channel. Whitney Webb just put this out on her website, Unlimited Hangout. It's called The Military Origins of Facebook. And it's basically LifeLog, as Q told everybody a long time ago. She just published this April 12th, and there's going to be a part 2 to this. So I only got halfway through it. It's extremely long. It goes into total information awareness. And I really recommend people read this stuff. This is exactly like what people have been saying for a long time. And now it seems like there's some pretty a lot of circumstantial evidence, we'll say, and I wonder what she's going to come out with in part 2.
Well, we had started with DARPA, now we got ARPA, and it seems
ARPA.
Like this is from they took all their categorizing and marking with data and then they established all the profiles, right? And now they're ready to open up HARPA all of a sudden.
Yeah, HARPA, because we need that, I guess. Good Lord. And remember when I got into the argument with the actual DARPA account, the verified account on Twitter, before I was banned on Twitter, and we were arguing over Facebook being LifeLog, and they were whoever was running this account was insisting that it wasn't, and that it wasn't involved in mind control projects like the CIA. And it was so weird. It was arguing with me back and forth, and it ended up saying like, well, I'm just a guy in Virginia sitting at home in his shorts. And it was the weirdest thing. It argued about Q and like other people started getting in on this. Like when I was talking back and forth with this account, I had the screenshot saved from this thread, this conversation, and then I've never have seen the DARPA Twitter account ever like engage like that with like people ever again. The guy said he wanted to like engage with people. He wanted to like talk to people. And I guess he got in trouble because the Twitter account for DARPA has never done that again. But I found that kind of strange where he was like adamant that they had nothing to do with like Facebook. Oh no. Bullshit.
No. And it gets even better because I just did an update here on what is coming here in July by way of the cyber pandemic known as Cyber Polygon, which Whitney did a good job of breaking down. If you remember the SolarWinds hack and all that stuff that took place around the election time, and of course they tried to immediately pin it on Russia. Well, get ready for when Cyber Polygon comes aboard, because they actually leveraged a lot of Russian banks and everybody else. So what is this narrative about Russia bad anyway?
Yeah, right. Certainly doesn't seem like they believe that.
Not at all.
No. They're all working together. All of these governments behind the scenes.
It's insanity. Get ready.
Yep. All right. Well, everybody have a good night.
Take care.
Bye.
See you, drunk pinata.
Take care.
All right. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How we doing? As always, good to be back here on the soapbox. Let's get this deal started here, shall we? All right, welcome back, everybody. Good to be aboard. And of course, we've got everybody over on D Live. We are over on Trovo. We are over on Vaughn. We are over on the Foxhole app. And of course, we've got our friends over on Tiger Network. And of course, Roku, if it's still functioning, I suppose, for those that may still be using that application. Good to have you aboard here for this edition here this evening. Tonight, you're going to be in for a little bit of a treat. I have pulled a little bit of data and articles pertaining to old Harvey Weinstein. Tonight, we're going to bring you up to speed on what has been going on with Mr. Weinstein and company here as of late. Probably take you back here maybe about a month or so ago to some of the goings on and bring you forward. But that's what we're going to cover here tonight. So stick around and let's get into it. So that being said, let me get her brought up here. Oh, what in the world? Hang on. All right, let's try this again. There we go. All right. So let's back this up here to, maybe around March 26 or so. And ex-Weinstein company exec may have to sell shares in new studio over $1.2 million in debt. And of course, a lot of that is to cover the expenses and that after old Weinstein got put in jail and to cover some of his legal fees. And of course, he handed over his company and that as well, if you recall. So this out of page 6 at the time says David Glasser owes more than $1.19 million to an Icelandic venture capitalist and has been ordered to pay up or else he risks losing his shares in his new movie studio. The former chief operating officer of the Weinstein Company has been ordered in court documents filed in the LA Superior Court and obtained by page 6 to pay the amount owed to his creditor, Gunnlaugur Erlandson, or else Erlandson maintains the right to sell Glasser's stake in 101 Studios to fulfill the debt. The court order also permits Erlandson to proceed with the foreclosure and sale of Glasser's interest in the studio, but a source tells Page 6 that Glasser signed on the property on behalf of his brother. He was informed that the payments were in default and agreed to assist in getting the payments up to speed. 101 Studios was never involved in any way, and certainly not as a leveraged asset. Glasser, who serves as CEO, launched 101 Studios with former Weinstein Company EVP David Hatkin in 2019 after securing $300 million in funding. Its projects include the Kevin Costner starring Yellowstone, Unstoppable, and The Current War. It was the duo's first major project since the Weinstein Company, where Glasser served as COO until he was fired in 2018 after Attorney General Eric Schneiderman filed a suit alleging that Glasser had failed to protect employees from Harvey Weinstein's pattern of sexual harassment. In turn, Glasser planned to file an $85 million lawsuit against the Weinstein Company board, claiming Weinstein and his brother Bob scapegoated him to cover their own failures in covering up Harvey's sexual predation. My client said in termination was nothing more than a desperate attempt to deflect attention away from the very people who were empowered to halt Harvey Weinstein's abusive behavior. Chairman Bob Weinstein and the other two members of the TWC Board of Directors, Glasser's attorney Eve Wagner, I suppose, in a statement. So Glasser joined TWC in 2008. So there you go. Obviously, got some debts to pay as the legal fees, I'm sure, mount. And of course, if you recall, Harvey is currently in New York and recently indicted on charges in LA. So a lot of things going on there. So flash forward here a little bit. Quiet scream. Another alleged Weinstein victim steps forward saying she bloodied his genitals. This dating back to the 27th of March now by Alexandra Kashirna over at Sputnik. The disgraced former high-profile Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein achieved tremendous success with many Oscar-winning films, but his life collapsed in 2017 after it was revealed that he had sexually abused many women, marking the beginning of the Me Too movement. Harvey Weinstein, 69, is again accused of sexual misconduct, this time by Haley Grip, a certified advocate for children with trauma and special needs, the New York Post reported on Saturday, citing court papers. The plaintiff, who refused to be interviewed by the New York Post, claimed Weinstein committed attempted rape in 2012 when she was a 19-year-old aspiring actress. According to Grip, she was drinking coffee at the Beverly Hilton Hotel before casting when she was approached by an unnamed Weinstein associate who invited her to have breakfast with influential industry people. Grip was offered the opportunity of meeting a big producer said to be worth skipping the casting. When the young woman entered the room, she was offered alcohol, according to the affidavit. When it was mentioned that she was 19, Grip was told that it's rude not to accept a drink from someone who feeds you and shows you hospitality. Grip claimed that she then lost consciousness for a while, and when she woke up, she realized that Weinstein, earlier introduced to her as Dom, was pushing her onto a coffee table. Grip said that Weinstein's fingers were inside her vajayjay, and he asked her to pretend as if he would has been someone like Zac Efron. That's worded weird, but obviously you get the idea. Weinstein then held Ms. Grip down with one hand, took Ms. Grip's genital fluids and rubbed it on his exposed genitalia. Here we go. Proceeding to, with his other hand to escape his hold, Ms. Grip began flailing her arms and in doing so broke her acrylic nail against the coffee table. Ms. Grip then stabbed Weinstein on the bottom part of his scrot with her sharp broken nail, according to the testimony. According to the court paper, Weinstein let out a quiet scream and grabbed her hand, inadvertently causing her nail to move up and inward, deeper into his sack. Photos of Weinstein's reportedly deformed genitalia were presented during a court hearing for Weinstein after one of his accusers, actress Jessica Mann, claimed that they looked deformed or intersex when he allegedly abused her in 2013. Grip escaped from the wounded Weinstein, and in an encounter later with the latter's associate, Grip, who has Tourette's syndrome, oh, this just gets better, was told that she would be put in a mental hospital if she went public with her story. The plaintiff said that she didn't know who her abuser was until the sex scandal gathered pace in 2017, and she saw him on the news. According to her lawyer, Eric Lerner, Grip did not bring legal charges at the time because of the delay in the discovery of Weinstein's identity and his injuries. Grip, later diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, seeks compensation and is determined to fully cooperate with the LAPD or any other agency regarding an investigation or prosecution against Harvey Weinstein, her second attorney, Krista Riggins, said. Ms. Grip did not report this crime to police for the same reason that nearly 80% of rapes and sexual assaults go unreported. At this time, Ms. Grip does not intend to file criminal charges because Harvey Weinstein has received what amounts to a lifetime sentence and is unable to abuse another woman, she told the New York Post. And in January, a U.S. court approved a plan to liquidate the Weinstein Company film production company, which went bankrupt 3 years ago, with the distribution of $17.1 million among nearly 50 plaintiffs who brought cases against Weinstein over sexual abuse. The long-running legal fight to expose the abusive Hollywood boss started in 2017 after numerous victims testified under oath that Weinstein had sexually assaulted them, including actresses Angelina Jolie, Uma Thurman, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Ashley Judd. In February 2020, a court convicted him of multiple third-degree rapes and several other forms of sexual misconduct. The disgraced film producer was sentenced to 23 years in a New York State prison. At the same time, the jury acquitted him on 3 other counts, including a more serious rape charge with which he had faced imprisonment up to life. His lawyers observed that Weinstein may not survive his sentence due to his age and poor health. Weinstein, who, according to his lawyer, suffered serious health problems after his imprisonment, denies the charges, according to his lawyer, Imran H. Ansari. And so, little graphic. Apologize, didn't realize just how detailed that would get, but obviously this is the nature of old Harvey Weinstein. That being said, let's flash forward to the beginning of April here. How confronting Harvey Weinstein led Kelly Bachman to FX's hysterical doc. This comedian was the David Harvey Weinstein's Goliath and lived to tell the tale. Kelly Bachman made headlines in 2019 for calling out Weinstein during a stand-up comedy event that the now imprisoned mogul attended at the Lower East Side bar Downtime, an incident she reflects on in the new FX documentary, Hysterical. Premiering April 2nd, 9 p.m. on FX and hitting Hulu the next day, Hysterical explores the experiences of women in the comedy world, from superstars Kathy Griffin, well, I don't know if she's necessarily superstar, at least the first one there, Margaret Cho and Sherry Shepard, to relative newcomers like Bachman, who was 27 and unknown at the time that her call-out went viral. Says it's definitely one of those flashbulb memories. Bachman, now 29, tells the Post, "When I think back to the night, specifically, it felt like something that should be happening on a TV show." Oops, lost my spot. There we go. Not in my life. I remember being really nervous. Like, does this person still have that power to even quietly blacklist me like he used to? And the now infamous video footage, Bachman gets on stage and addresses the crowd, which included Weinstein, the sex predator sentenced last year to 23 years in prison, whom she called the elephant and the Freddy Krueger in the room. Says at the time, Weinstein had been accused of sexual misconduct by more than 70 women, though he had yet to stand trial. And supposedly this is Kelly Bachman here. And very interesting. I'm not quite sure if that is indeed a woman or not. Don't know in this day and age. Hard saying. But nonetheless, as I didn't know that we have to bring our own Mason rape whistles to Actors Hour, she said, and she was met with some boos and one shut up from the audience. Says, I have been raped, surprisingly, by no one in this room, but I've never gotten to confront those guys, she continued, eliciting cheers. So just a general F you to whoever. As a sexual assault survivor, Bachman, who grew up in North Carolina and is now based in Brooklyn, was overwhelmed by the reactions to her revelation by national media. Says, I wasn't necessarily ready for that part of my identity to be in the news when that went viral. It wasn't a secret, but it wasn't broadcast out there. I was already passionate about advocating for these issues. I had produced a show called Rape Jokes by Survivors in 2018 before this, and that was important to me, but I wasn't in that show. Because of the sudden flood of messages that she got on social media in 2019, Bachman said that she overlooked many of them and nearly missed it when the producers of Hysterical reached out to her via direct message on Instagram and Twitter. So nonetheless, you get the idea. Apparently, she liked to bash Weinstein there, and probably rightfully so, while at least he was still a free man. Probably a little bit tougher to do now unless you make some trips and do prison shows. But nonetheless, April 5th here, over to Law and Crime. Harvey Weinstein appeals New York rape and sexual assault conviction, cites judge's courtroom outburst. So apparently there have been some shenanigans going on during the trial here. And let's break this one down. It says attorneys for convicted rapist Harvey Weinstein, a disgraced Hollywood producer, filed an appeal in his conviction on Monday. The lawyers assert that the court failed to protect their client's constitutional rights amid immense public pressure. Funny how the Constitution matters most, especially when you're behind bars. But aside from that, just piss all over it. Says, in this climate, the trials court had a special obligation to safeguard Mr. Weinstein's constitutional guarantee of a fair and impartial jury trial, attorney Arthur Adela wrote in a statement obtained by Law and Crime. Mr. Weinstein's appellate brief demonstrates that the trial court woefully neglected its obligations in several important ways that renders his convictions and the 23-year sentence unconstitutional. More than 100 women, including high-profile Hollywood actresses, said Weinstein used his considerable influence to terrorize them with sexual misconduct up to and including rape. All told, they said Weinstein was a prolific abuser. Douglas H. Wigner, an attorney for 7 of these women, dismissed the appeal as desperate. Harvey Weinstein's criminal appeal is a desperate attempt to undo a fair trial overseen by Judge Burke and the findings of a well-reasoned and thoughtful jury, he said in a statement obtained by Law and Crime. We are confident the appeal will not alter his conviction and sentence. So far, the sexual assault allegation by former production assistant Mimi Hellier and the rape claim from former actress Jessica Mann are the only allegations to be adjudicated in court. For that, Weinstein was sentenced 1 year ago to 23 years behind bars. Meanwhile, LA County prosecutors are going after Weinstein for allegedly raping women in their jurisdiction. In the New York case, the prosecution described Weinstein as a manipulative bully. The defense maintained he was just a flawed person who cheated on his wife in consensual affairs. Details in the appeal will be familiar to those who followed the trial because the defense made a big deal about this at the time. For example, attorneys chastised the court for allowing a juror who was writing a deeply personal book about older men preying on younger women. The defense said the juror lied during voir dire, but the defense could not get rid of her themselves because they ran out of peremptory challenges. Although the defense raised legitimate questions about whether juror number 11 was fit to serve, the trial court failed to discharge its constitutional obligation to conduct a full inquiry to ensure that the juror was capable of rendering a fair and impartial verdict, the motion stated. The defense also noted that trial judge James Burke chewed out Weinstein for bringing 2 cell phones to court. Mr. Weinstein, I could not implore you more to not answer the following question. Is this really the way you want to end up in jail for the rest of your life? By texting in violation of an order, he said. Is it? The defense demanded at the time that Judge Burke recuse himself. The judge did not. Vinod Varghese, a criminal defense lawyer and a former prosecutor, predicted at the time the outburst opened the path for an appeal. The guy is using a cell phone, he told Law and Crime Network host Jesse Weber at the time, but don't say he's going to throw him in jail for the rest of his life. That says he's intending to throw this guy in jail for the rest of his life. What else does this say? There's no other explanation. And of course, there's the filing there in the New York Supreme Court case right there. Oh, about 190 pages. I don't think we'll get into all of that here this evening. That being said, over to the Daily Caller. Harvey Weinstein appeals the sex crimes convictions, claimed the judge was woefully neglected the fair trial. Let's see if there's any bits and pieces out of this one. Disgraced producer Harvey Weinstein appealed his sex crimes convictions on Monday. Talking about James Burke, there we go. New Harvey Weinstein has filed his long-expected appeal, which takes direct aim at the testimony of several women who testified against him during his trial. That the New York Times piece, and that on, it looks to be on April 5th as well. It says the appeal shared 7 points in favor of Weinstein receiving a new trial and claimed Weinstein was given a death sentence, according to the Wall Street Journal. The appeal also said Judge Burke shouldn't have permitted testimony from 4 women whose sexual allegations hadn't resulted in criminal charges. The lawyers argued the testimony from the 4 women led to Weinstein being characterized as loathsome and had nothing to do with the charges he faced in court, Fox News reported. With a year behind us and emotion subsided, the transcript of the case confirms what we always believed, that Mr. Weinstein did not receive a fair trial. Weinstein's lawyer, Arthur Aidla, said, according to Fox News, "We have the utmost confidence that the appellate division will correct these mistakes and send this case back before a different judge." Weinstein's lawyers also pointed to a juror who is reportedly writing a book about predatory male teachers called Age of Consent. Clearly, the fact that the prospective juror had written a book that involves sexual relationships between women and predatory older men, the very accusation against Mr. Weinstein, is something that should have been disclosed, even absent a direct question, the appeal stated. Again, Weinstein, serving the 23-year prison, faces more sexual assault charges in LA, and that's exactly where we're going to head to next. So over to the Epoch Times here as of April 12th. And it says Weinstein was indicted on 11 sexual assault charges and appears at the extradition hearing. So, of course, Weinstein had been indicted in California on sexual assault charges, one of his lawyers said on Monday, as the former Hollywood movie producer appeared in a New York court proceeding over whether to extradite him. The 69-year-old Weinstein wore a collarless rust-colored shirt as he appeared from the Wendy Correctional Facility near Buffalo by video before Erie County Court Judge Kenneth Case. Weinstein has been appealing his February 2020 conviction in Manhattan and 23-year prison sentence for sexually assaulting former production assistant Mimi Haley and raping former aspiring actress Jessica Mann. California's criminal case against Weinstein covers alleged attacks on 5 women from 2004 to 2013 in the LA area, unannounced last year. It includes a total of 11 charges, 4 counts of forcible rape, 4 counts of forcible oral copulation, 2 counts of sexual battery by restraint, and 1 count of sexual penetration by use of force. Weinstein has denied having non-consensual sex with anyone. And it says, Norman Effman, a public defender representing Weinstein, asked that his client be arraigned on the indictment virtually in New York rather than extradited so he could get necessary medical treatment, including scheduled eye and dental surgery. Effman said when Weinstein, a diabetic, is almost technically blind at this point and also suffers from cardiac and back problems. We're not trying to avoid what is going to happen in California, Effman said. We believe there is not only a defense to these charges, but a very good defense to these charges, which would result in an acquittal. The LA County District Attorney's Office did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Weinstein's indictment was reported earlier by the LA Times. Another hearing is scheduled for April 30th. The conviction of Weinstein was seen as a watershed moment in the hashtag Me Too movement, or perhaps pound Me Too, whichever way you look at that, against sexual abuse and harassment by men, including many like Weinstein who once held powerful jobs and influence. If convicted in California, Weinstein could spend the rest of his life in prison, even if his New York conviction were overturned. These are stale, unsubstantiated, uncorroborated, uncredible allegations that arose during the hysteria of the hashtag MeToo movement, Weinstein's criminal defense lawyer, Mark Worksman, said in a statement. We're confident that Mr. Weinstein will be acquitted because there's no credible evidence against him. He's innocent. LA District Attorneys first sought Weinstein's extradition last July, but it has been delayed by the coronavirus pandemic. How very effing convenient, right? And so back over to page 6. On April 12th, of course, woe to Harvey Weinstein. He's going blind and losing teeth in jail. Terrible. Yep. Cry a little tear. Convicted rapist Harvey Weinstein is going blind and has lost several teeth behind bars, his lawyer claimed Monday, as the former film mogul appeared virtually in an upstate court to fight extradition to LA on a fresh sex crimes indictment. The ruined Hollywood rainmaker appeared in Erie County Court via video monitor, wearing a burgundy sweater and seemed to be in good spirits, smiling and chatting with his lawyers before the proceeding began. But his attorney, Norman Effman, told Judge Kenneth Case that his client doesn't want to be shipped off to the Golden State just yet because he has dental and eye procedures that first need to be addressed. Of course we do. How about a sex reassignment too while we're at it? How about that? You know, it's on the public dime. Specifically, Effman said Weinstein is almost blind and needs an eye operation. In addition, he is scheduled for some dental procedures to save his teeth. He's lost, I believe, 4 at this point, Effman said. LA prosecutors have refused to agree to a delay, but Effman is challenging the extradition on the grounds that the district attorney's office filed inadequate paperwork. The case number on the documents is from the felony complaint, but Weinstein was recently indicted, which generated a new case number, and that should be on the papers, Effman argued. Erie County Assistant DA Colleen Curtin Gable scolded Effman for not raising the paperwork issue sooner. What's humanitarian to all people involved, including the victims in this case, is that time is of the essence, she said. The judge granted the defense 1 week to file a motion to challenge the extradition, which he plans to rule on April 30th. Weinstein's defense team can also petition embattled Governor Andrew Cuomo to intervene on his behalf. Well, of course you can. Why not, get the blessing, as it were, from somebody who's being accused by, what are we up to, 7, 10, 12 women right now? It seems to make a lot of sense. Go for it. I dare you. Nonetheless, the fallen movie magnate is already serving 23 years for rape and criminal sex act. That's at Wendy Correctional Facility following his conviction in New York. But he was hit in October with the 11-count felony complaint on the West Coast, which includes charges of forcible rape, forcible oral copulation, and sexual battery by restraint stemming from the allegations of 5 women. And he has since been indicted on similar but not identical counts, according to Effman. If convicted, he faces up to 140 years to life in prison for the alleged crimes that stretched from 2004 to 2013. And the 69-year-old had his extradition to the City of Angels pushed back twice due to the coronavirus pandemic. LA prosecutors filed extradition paperwork in March last year to bring the disgraced producer to California. And of course, there's all the rest of his what left to be of credentials. But hey, not to worry. He's going to get his eyes fixed and his teeth fixed. He should be good, right? Yeah. Nonetheless, that takes us to this guy. Jessica Mann, key witness in Harvey Weinstein trial, gives first interview since his conviction. So again, just as we cited here, she was one of those listed in the previous articles here. Let's see if we can take a little bit of a listen here. I may have to break this up. Yeah, let me see here. Maybe I'll read through it and come back to it. Let me do that first. All right, so Jessica Mann, one of the key witnesses from Harvey Weinstein's criminal trial, is speaking out for the first time since he was convicted in 2020. Mann, whose testimony was the basis for Weinstein's rape conviction, shared her story in the courtroom, but has never given a media interview up until now. In the 2020 New York trial, Mann was the surprise star witness, a hairdresser who was raised on a dairy farm in Washington. She left home as a teenager and moved to LA to become an actor in her mid-20s. After meeting Weinstein in LA, Mann explained that she chose to maintain a sexual relationship with him for years, out of fear of retaliation and out of hope that he could help her career. In 2013, Weinstein raped Mann in a New York City hotel. The jury convicted Weinstein on the charge of third-degree rape based on Mann's testimony, in which she shared graphic and disturbing details of Weinstein's criminal behavior against her. Throughout her 3 days of grueling testimony, Mann was hit with brutal cross-examination from Weinstein's defense team and, at one point, broke down on the stand. During cross-examination, Mann repeatedly cried, expressing anger and frustration that she was not allowed to tell her full story. When she was able to face the judge and give her victim impact statement, Mann explained how she saw Weinstein threatening behavior and abuse of power firsthand over the years. Rape is not just one moment of penetration, she said. It is forever. In her interview, which will air Thursday night on News Nation, Mann is expected to explain her breakdown in the courtroom, along with discussing why she did not speak to media in the year since the trial. Weinstein was also convicted of sexual assault. He is currently serving 23 years in prison while awaiting another trial in LA, and he faces 140 years if convicted on all 11 rape and sexual assault charges on the West Coast. This week, Weinstein's team objected to his LA extradition. Last week, Weinstein's attorneys appealed his rape conviction, arguing that the judge made errors that resulted in a rigged trial. In a first look at her television interview obtained by Variety, Mann says, "I almost find the situation laughable. It's just so typical. He's looking for the loopholes, anything he can find. At this point, it's not a surprise. The 100-plus voices of women who never knew each other, who never spoke, who lived in the dark, and hid this shame and dealt with this trauma, attest to the fact that this man is not innocent. So he's delusional." Mann says, speaking to investigative journalist and News Nation correspondent Rich McHugh. McHugh was the producer at NBC News who worked alongside Ronan Farrow on the Weinstein investigation that they claimed was shot down by the news organization. Mann decided to speak out now because she is working to reform laws around consent to prevent sexual assault. Alongside Dawn Dunning and Terrell Wolfe, two other women who testified in Weinstein's New York trial, Mann is backing a bill that was unveiled earlier this month by New York Assembly member Rebecca Seawright, which would define consent in that state's general laws. By applying consent in general laws, this bill makes it clear that the same consent that protects your property protects your body, Wolfe said in a press conference on April 6th. This bill provides solutions that guide behavior and will hold people accountable, Dunning said. Under the bill, consent would be defined as freely given, knowledgeable, and informed agreement, obtained without the use of malice, such as forcible compulsion, duress, coercion, deception, fraud, concealment, or artifice. Interesting. So I'll back that up here and let part of this play through, but I find this very last bit rather intriguing, especially in the context of the jabs, right? If you think about what may potentially come down the pike about everybody having to forcibly take the jab, what's going to happen if this little ditty comes out? What did we just say? Under the bill, consent would be defined as freely given, knowledgeable, and informed agreement, obtained without the use of malice, such as forcible compulsion, duress, coercion, deception, fraud, concealment, or artifice. How many of those can you probably rattle off in regards to the whole COVID jab at this point that would strike that? Very, very interesting. All right, so let me back this up and let some of this play through here. Here we go.
Hello, good evening. How are you doing?
Very good. Wonderful.
Yes, so once again, congratulations on your awards this evening and just all the phenomenal work that you've done over the years. We're just so excited for you.
Thank you.
So Viola, you've always been just such a source of inspiration for our community, whether on screen or on social media with your inspiring words and celebration of our culture. What are some ways that you would encourage young creators who are now coming up to step into, hone, and really maximize their artistic and creative power, especially as we continue to navigate the COVID-19 pandemic?
I always say that whatever field that you decide to pursue in the entertainment field, whether it be acting, whether it be music or writing or whatever, you have to do it as much as you can in as many scenarios as you can. You do it until you just sort of spread a wealth of your work around. Because I feel like I have to say that because I think that a lot of people who even come into acting have a tendency to want to be a famous actor, not just an actor. So I encourage young people to really, really hone their skills. Be as excellent as you possibly can. Always challenge yourself. Work in every capacity you can, not just in Hollywood, in schools, in your community. You spread a wealth of your talent everywhere because your responsibility is just to plant the seed. You don't know how it's going to grow. You just have to plant it. And that's what I would say.
Amazing. Thank you so much and congratulations once again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Savannah. Next, we're going to hear from Ja Girl TV.
Hi, Mrs. Davis. How are you?
Good.
First, let me just say congratulations on all of your Black girl magic. I mean, making history, knocking down barriers for women of color. I just have to give you your roses before I ask my question. Yes, you're so welcome. So I know that it has been announced that you will be playing the leading role of Miss Michelle Obama for the Showtime series First Ladies. And I know you spoke with the former First Lady. And I just want to know, was there any advice or any pointers that she gave you to prepare for portraying her for the series?
Absolutely not. And let me tell you something. I wish she had, because I could use that right now, Michelle. And she really insists that you call her Michelle, but I could use it right now. But she's one of those. She's everything.
Yes.
She is a goddess. She probably would cringe if I said that, but I'm going to say it anyway. I love her beyond love. And I think she would never do what you suggested because she has too much respect for people in whatever field they study. She's just a bastion of support. That's what she is.
Nice. That's so beautiful. So again, thank you so much. And they picked the perfect person to play her. Let me just say, that's okay, queen. Thank you so much and congratulations on tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ja Girl, and definitely picked the perfect person. Next, we will hear from Refinery 29, Unbothered.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
Can everyone hear me? Hi. Thank you so much for being here, for all the work that you do. Congratulations. So my question, Ms. Davis, is you recently made history as the most nominated Black actress in Oscar history. You won 2 awards tonight. You've talked about viewing award season as a platform and, quote, another opportunity to speak about the fundamental truths of Hollywood and this business in America. So what do you think of the fact that this award show is one of the few that celebrates and honors Black talent in the way that they should be? What does that say about Hollywood and America?
Well, what it says about the NAACP Image Awards is thank God for the NAACP Image Awards, or else we would still stay in the cloak of invisibility. What I will say about Hollywood is the same thing I say about Black history, that actors and artists of color, we are artists. We belong in the same conversation as everyone else. And it's because a lot of times we are forgotten or not held in as much esteem as sometimes our white counterparts, is why we need NAACP Image Awards, is why we need Essence Luncheon. And we literally look, I don't know if I could say I look forward to the day where there is no NAACP Image Awards or whatever, because, and listen, we're dope, right? But I look forward to the day when we no longer have to teach people how to see us, that we no longer have to keep, trying to break out of that shroud of invisibility, where our talent can be embraced as much as our white counterparts. I look forward to that day. But I really do feel that the game changers, the rule breakers, the people who are going to change the narrative out there is us. That's who's going to change it. We are now harnessing all of our talent, all of our ingenuity, and we are literally demanding to be seen. So that's what I'd say.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, we'll cut that short here. I'm not exactly sure what that has to do with this particular article, unless this video managed to jump. I'm not sure. It appears maybe it did. I don't know. Let's see here. I guess that's only here we go. I thought that was different. Must have jumped on me before I got on air here. Let me play the right one now. Let's try this. If it'll go. Is it gonna go? All right. We'll scratch that for now. Let's see. One last thing I want to hit here tonight before I part ways, kind of switching gears away from old Harvey Weinstein. It is this: get ready to rumble with big business. And of course, if you've been paying attention, you know that the woke corporations and that are wielding their big stick. And of course, all this having to do with the shenanigans and that going on down in Georgia. And of course, this certainly relates to that. It says woke corporations aren't our friends, and we should stop acting like they are. If they want to play games with our rights, we should beat them like rented mules when it comes to their bottom line. This out of American Greatness here in the last couple of days says, serious question. Who died and made these woke corporations ruler of all? The veritable masters of the universe. Who made them the arbiters of right and wrong? Since when do they get to decide what is an acceptable form of free speech or what election laws should or should not get passed in this country? If you're not half asleep, perhaps you've noticed this dynamic. We are rapidly shifting into a government of, by, and for the corporations, with our Constitution being secondary to the corporation's arbitrary woke one. Corporations, many of which no longer consider themselves American companies, but more global ones, composed of citizens of the world, have decided to enforce their view of the world onto almost every subject. They don't consider the damage their decision-making does to Main Street, only how much they can line their own pockets, even if they have to use foreign slave labor to do it. Now they arrogantly lecture us as though they were paragons of moral uprightness. More than 100 corporate leaders met over this past weekend from companies such as United Airlines, American Airlines, AMC Theaters, Levi Strauss, and others to discuss their collective opposition to voter integrity laws. In other words, don't F with our corruption, leave it as is. One reason we have seen so much more of this woke behavior over the last few years is that we are seeing more and more of the indoctrinated youth coming of age after their quote-unquote educations in indoctrination centers of higher learning. We can see that influence as they enter the workforce, deciding the rest of the world must be compelled to fit their weird and warped views. ergo the explosion of woke corporatism. But one of the reasons these corporations feel so empowered is because many on the right have bought into the idea that corporatism and capitalism are one and the same. They are not. Corporatism, with its crony capitalism, market manipulation, and rigging, and incestuous relationship with big government, has nothing to do with free market capitalism. The monopolistic corporate tech companies, as I and others have noted, are a further bastardization of the free market, no matter how many times libertarians intone, but we can't do nothing about them because they're private companies. It won't change the fact that things just don't work the way they assume. We can't have free market capitalism and competition when monopolies dominate the marketplace. The prevailing dynamic, in fact, is the antithesis of capitalism. But most, if not all, libertarians are unable to understand that. Perhaps it is corporate bucks clouding their judgment, or possibly too much weed. Maybe it's both. The fact is, Democrats and swampy Republicans do love them some corporatism. I mean, ain't it a grand setup? The ruling class protects its crony corporatists and helps rig the game for them, all of which leads to more bucks in their campaign coffers, while at the same time, the ruling class statists are spared the bother of having to make a full-on frontal assault on Americans' constitutional rights. All as you have many conservatives and libertarians wringing their hands saying, we can't do anything about it because private corporations. It really is a beautiful dynamic for the statists. Why not use the massive corporate tools that touch every aspect of life to censor and reshape culture and society? Why wake Americans from their slumber with drastic measures when they can be lulled to sleep by private corporations doing the statist work? It's not like stormtroopers are kicking in doors in the middle of the night. But regardless, freedom is dying under corporate rule. Of course, this is how statists have operated in America for quite some time. Don't do away with the Constitution when in fact you can sneak in an administrative state without anyone really noticing. Why shred the Bill of Rights in public when you can accomplish the same thing by allowing woke corporations to backdoor fascism? Republicans and conservatives need to get righteous on this issue, or corporations aren't our friends and we should stop acting like they are. If they want to play games with our rights, we should beat them like rented mules when it comes to their bottom line. Tax breaks, gone. Boycotts across the board. Banning importation of goods made by slave labor? That would be delicious and hit hundreds of corporations right where it hurts on the P&L sheet. They want to rumble? Let's rumble. And for any Republican or conservative who can't come to grips with what is happening, any one of them who doesn't know what the stakes are or what time it is in American history, hit the road. Your naivete is a danger to us all. And of course, to go along with those sentiments, I have created a little piece in that as a little PSA. And if you follow my show, you know periodically that I will play some of these PSAs as part of my show. This one will be an extra one in the old repertoire. So that being said, we'll let this play through. As the saying goes, get woke, go broke. We, the people, recently learned that 200 woke corporations, part of the Civic Alliance, and 90 CEOs in a Zoom call, went on record to oppose election integrity laws in Georgia. These corporations think they know what's best for we, the people. These corporations think they wield more power than we, the people. These corporations openly flaunt and thwart the will of we, the people. These corporations hide behind legal terms like personhood, thereby giving said corporations, dead entities, rights like we, the people. These corporations virtue signal at every opportunity what values we, the people, should embody. We, the people, have forgotten how to play the game, and it's time we the people step into the light of the Great Awakening. We the people have more power than they know. We the people have the ability to vote with our dollars. We the people have had enough of the fraud and are collectively throwing up the window and yelling, "We're mad as hell and we're not going to take it anymore." We the people keep our tongues from evil and our lips from speaking lies, while these corporations have given our mouth to evil and our tongues frame deceit. We the people will have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of these corporations. Rather, we the people admonish them. We the people, having souls, know our rights are inherent and come by the hand of God, whereas these corporations are soulless and rely upon man for their privileges, masquerading as rights. We the people will continue to witness the destruction of the old guard. And we the people will build around, through, and without these corporations. So help us God. This has been a PSA by Breaking Spectre. And there you go, folks. Just a little ditty I put together here. The old Woca-Cola, of course. Get woke, go broke. That ought to be the mantra. And just like the article stated, we can certainly vote with our dollars. And quite frankly, it's probably about time that we put a little campaign together to do a little rewriting of some things in the old dictionary, shall we? Perhaps let's start with the Black's Law Dictionary on what personhood actually is. Who's the one that arbitrarily decided that corporations are given the same rights as persons, right? Or that we, the people, are defined as persons who equal corporations, thereby giving us similar rights? Can't be. It can't be. Something that is alive has rights, like I said, that are inherent, come by the hand of God. But at the end of the day, corporations have no soul. They don't breathe on their own. They can't have rights. The best they can have is privileges. And guess what? Just like all these groups and that wish to have the government do their bidding and give them their rights, give them their share, well, guess what? They're not really rights. They're privileges, and they can be taken away. So why can't we do the same? It's about time we do. And I think once that is done, that will level the playing field, because it'll thereby eliminate the dollars going to all these politicians and strip them of their ability to forever go and sit on K Street and lobby the hell out of them and line their pockets. How else do you think these senators and reps and that get rich? It's not off their salaries, folks. It's by the lobbyists. The lobbyists write the bills up. You've seen the videos of them going to hotels. Lobbyists write them up. We'll end the senators, the congressmen, sign off on it. Away you go, right? That's what happens. In any case, yeah, we have got a lot of work to do, I think, and we need to get started on it very, very soon. I don't think there's going to be a 2024 to worry about. I don't think there's going to be a 2022 to worry about midterms. Frankly, I think one of the other escapades and adventures that we need to be on immediately is getting rid of the old Dominion, the Smartmatic E&ES machines, the hell off the land, period. Get them gone. We'll go back to hand counted if need be. And then and only then are we going to have free and fair elections and not have the corruption. Otherwise, we don't stand a chance, folks. Hate to say it. All right. Well, I see that Mega Swagga is in house. How are we doing tonight?
Awesome. How are you doing, Breaking?
Doing all right.
All right.
And I see Salty is in house as well.
Yo, how's it going?
Doing all right. How goes it?
Just hanging out. Hey, MAGA, how you doing? How's it going?
In Cedar Rapids.
That's what you want to hear. That's, by popular
It
demand.
is.
That's what
It is.
We're going to be chilling tonight in Cedar Rapids.
Outstanding. Well, let me get out of your guys' hair. A little bit of a short program, a little bit of a Weinstein update for the evening. Away we go. So take care. God bless everybody.
Great. Yeah, we need our Weinstein updates for sure.
Gross.
Okay.
Gross.
Weinstein updates.
Ugh.
So did anything happen? Did anything happen with Weinstein? Like, is there any updates with him?
Oh, I don't.
I know that Anthony Weiner has been. There's been some
gross.
him in Central Park or something like that. Do you see that?
No, I guess I'm out of the loop. My word. I can't believe I read. Okay, anyway.
I do not keep up with news, but when it deals with Anthony Weiner, all right, fine.
Gross.
Fine. Let's get
All
this
right.
thing started. There we go.
Come on now.
Yeah. Here we go.
Not quite yet, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
True.
Whoa. Oh my goodness. Oh boy.
I love that one.
Oh, whoa. Oh.
Oh my gosh. That was scary. Pepe with the Parmesan cheese.
Where did Biden go? He was on his way to heaven. What? Hey, look, a Rambo's a patriot. Look at him. He's not wearing a mask. Okay, Brian Dennehy, leave him alone. He's a soldier. He's got a mullet. You know, how can you go wrong, okay? Rambo's the best.
Where did you get that one?
Biden on his way to heaven. knocking on. No. That didn't.
Falling up to heaven's door. Okay, moving on. Okay, no. Moving on.
Moving on.
From, though? But where'd you get that?
Telegram. I found it in Telegram. It's amazing.
Telegram. I'm telling you, there's a lot of good things in Telegram.
Absolutely.
Sort of. So what's going on? How's it going?
Nothing much. No, everything keeps moving in crazy directions. But here you go. Now this guy has been suspended from Twitter.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Okay, and I have to tell you, yeah, he is going to be suing Twitter, actually.
Yep.
This came out from
Beautiful.
Project Veritas statement. I am suing Twitter for defamation because they said I, James O'Keefe, operated fake accounts. This is false. This is defamatory, and they will pay. And just so everybody knows, he's really good at this, actually. He gets people to retract